We finally got some animation and a trailer for One Punch Man Season 3, and in this little clip we see Garou fighting against two monsters named Royal Ripper and Bug God. I went back through the manga, and what we're gonna do today is see the full fight, combining what we have from the animation and the rest of the manga panels all the way from the beginning to the end of this battle. So this video will contain major spoilers for One Punch Man Season 3, and also this fight happens very early in One Punch Man Season 3. So what we're going to do is start from the very first episode of One Punch Man Season 3, where Garou wakes up in a bed. Because as we know, as One Punch Man Season 2 ended, he got carried away as Elder Centipede attacked, Bang and Bomb and Genos tried to fight it off, before Saitama ultimately came through for the W. And the season's going to open up with Garou waking up in this bed covered in bandages, and he is starving, he's thirsty, and he just has this insatiable appetite. And that's because he is beginning to unravel his monsterification process. As he wakes up, he walks down this chamber where all these monsters are in the Monster Association, and that's when we get introduced to a bunch of baddies, one of them being disaster level demon Royal Ripper. And this guy is completely psychotic, he kills for fun, and he even kills other monsters. He just wants to kill everything. Royal Ripper smells a human entering, and that's when we see Garou walk up to the main chamber of the Monster Association. We also get introduced to disaster level demon Bug God, who we saw Garou fighting in the PV trailer. Garou escapes and goes out into the real world, and Garou, who's kind of the leader of the Monster Association, tells Royal Ripper and Bug God to go follow him. The first thing he does is go to a restaurant, he gets a big juicy steak and a gallon of water, and my boy was parched. He completely annihilates this dinner. But we see that in this restaurant, Saitama is also there, and that's when Fubuki comes in and sits down. Now she's going to be trying to recruit Saitama, but he doesn't want any part of that. This man is no simp, he is pure Sigma. But as she's talking to him, he realizes that he forgot his wallet and he can't pay for dinner. When someone in the restaurant says, "The Dine and Dasher ran," Saitama starts freaking out because he's like, "I haven't even started running yet." He was planning on dine and dashing. So he's like, "Don't worry, I'll get him," and he runs out. And he tells Fubuki that since she ate one of his french fries, she can cover dinner. It's complete alpha, dude. Garou is walking in the city and he sees Terrio being picked on by a bunch of bullies. He rescues Terrio, and that's when Saitama comes to stop him and make him pay for the dinner that he ran away from. But Garou's like, "You don't know who you're dealing with," and he goes to annihilate Saitama, but he gets one shot. As Garou wakes up, he sees Royal Ripper. Royal Ripper tells him, "Prove you're a monster and take out that child Terrio," which we know he won't do because he's kind of acting as a big brother or a mentor to this child. Terrio represents Garou's last string of humanity left inside of him. You never really see him doing any good deeds, with the exception of caring for this lost child Terrio and rescuing him and teaching him how to be stronger so he can defend himself. It's almost like the innocent child within Garou deep down somewhere. He tells Terrio to run because he knows these monsters are dangerous, and Royal Ripper comes in trying to slice him with his sword, but Garou is able to catch it and then nails Royal Ripper in the stomach with just unbelievable Murata art. You know how he does it. You can feel this animated, you know Murata, just crazy good art here. Royal Ripper gets blown away and he kind of braces himself with his sword, spins around and lands, and his arms get all jacked up from that, but it appears that he's able to regenerate. So Royal Ripper does have some sort of low-level regenerative capabilities, which a lot of monsters do. We know what My Mask does and plenty of others. So Bug God and Royal Ripper charge in at him. And that's where we got the narrator from the PV talking about the limiter. And this person who is talking is actually Dr. Genus, whom Zombie Man is talking with right now. Every living being has a limit to how much they can grow. Too much power brings burdens to the wielder that create issues, like tearing your muscles apart. They could become rampaging and mindless monsters. And as he's narrating, we see a lot of the scenes from the PV, but the animation is quite different from the manga panels. In fact, even in this one scene where Garou gets hit into the electrical wire, it was incredibly short-paced in the manga, but they went really hard on it in the animation. The scene where Garou gets smashed down by Bug God also embellished very well, in my opinion, in the anime. I'm actually very impressed as I went back and compared these, how much extra detail they gave to some of these fighting scenes. God created every living being with a range of growth that ensures their own sanity and survival. This growth restriction is called a limiter, and we all know that Saitama has broken his. As Garou stands off against the two monsters, he says, I can definitely do this. They're nothing compared to the old geezer, and he's talking about Silverfang. So after their little spout, I guess Garou has a loose tooth, and he rips it out and like spits it like a bullet into the ground, which is kind of nuts. For whatever reason, Murata wanted him spitting this bullet to be like a laser beam, I guess to kind of emphasize how supernaturally strong he's gotten. He tells them that they won't hit him again, but then we see Terrio being wrapped up by sludge jellyfish. And as Garou's attention is captured, he gets sliced in the back incredibly badly by Royal Ripper. And then Bug God nails him in the stomach, and he gets decimated pretty bad in this combination. They leave Garou for dead in a puddle of blood and go back to the Monster Association, taking Terrio as a prisoner. And after a while, Garou finally awakens, completely disoriented and trying to figure out what the heck happened and how did he end up like this. So he says, first things first, I have to stop the bleeding, but he's like, wait, it already stopped, and my clothes are sticking to me in places that were torn up from the wounds. Now they're stuck. My shirt is completely adhered to my body now. And this is kind of part of his monsterification process. His clothes and his wrappings become part of his skin. As he begins to turn more and more into a monster, his skin also becomes like more armor as well. He snaps his neck and clasps his fist, and that's when you see his back bulge like crazy, which we got from the animated PV. And this is showing you that basically every time Garou fights, he gets a Zenkai boost, which is a Dragon Ball term for when a Saiyan gets very low near death, and then when they return to life or get healed up, they're far stronger. Garou basically has infinite Zenkai boosts here in the anime, which eventually allows him to get as strong as Saitama, although briefly. Royal Ripper is about to take out Terrio, and that's when Garou, who has been traveling through the Monster Association, bursts through the wall and attacks. This time, Royal Ripper swings his sword, and Garou simply catches it with his bare hand and snaps it off, and then nails Royal Ripper with a punch, blowing off his head. As Royal Ripper's head begins to fall to the ground, both his body and his head get completely sliced up by the fist of flowing water crushed rock technique of Bang. And with one final push, he slices up all of Royal Ripper into a bunch of chunks and crap, and that is the end of Royal Ripper. Now, Bug God does survive for a little bit longer, and Garou is actually not going to fight him. The person that's going to fight him is Super Alloy Darkshine. That's a pretty cool fight as well, but I'm not going to dive too deep into that one yet. But it seems like the anime is giving this fight way more airtime than it got in the manga, and I'm curious as to, like, they're gonna have to cut out some scenes or speed through the chapters, because I believe season 2 will end with Saitama vs Orochi. So what's peculiar to me is how much resources they devoted to this fight, because there's tons and tons of other fights in the Monster Association arc. I think they really want to make Garou shine in this season, so every fight that he's in, I'm guessing they're just gonna kind of draw it out, give us a lot of extra animation that isn't really necessary. Like, for example, this whole lightning scene where he gets hit into the electrical wire, that's like so fast in the manga. I mean, it's literally just like 2 panels and then it cuts to them standing off. But here from the animation, you can see that like it's like straight up Sakuga for a good 30 seconds, which is a lot of work. But in any case, as I covered in my review of the teaser, so far I think this looks exceptionally well. I feel like JC staff probably fixed most of the issues they had with season 2, plus they've had way more time for production. So I can expect that this season is going to be a lot better than season 2, and I know some people are kind of frustrated that we're getting JC staff and not Mappa, but again, let's be reserved until we see more footage, and let's give them a second chance. If they drop the ball again, all right, I'm all with you guys, but I think people are being a little too hasty at hating on this just simply because it's the same studio from season 2. As always, as we get any more information about One Punch Man season 3, you know I'm going to cover it, so make sure you guys subscribe, hit that like button, and leave your comments down below. I'm Mastar, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.